Woohoo! I was just looking at that thing. It still says Twitch on there. When you see the end credits for our Saber Rattle show, the Twitch has been removed. We're slowly starting to pare things down. We're getting more of a direction with Kyber Cave. This is so weird. I see John at the bottom, but I don't see him at the... Oh, but he looks frozen at the bottom.
I'm
there
here.
He is. Hey! There he is.
Sorry about that.
It's good to see you, sir.
And you as well.
Wow, that is like the perfect meditative pose there. That you can make that
peace and tranquility.
You could use that as like your actor's shot, one of your actor's headshot pieces right there. That's a good shot.
Somebody take a screenshot.
How you doing tonight, Forrest?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, sir. I'm happy to be here. Let's do this.
Woohoo! Yes, sir. We've got a couple of fun topics, and hey, it is our friend Say Wong. What is going on, Say Wong?
Hello, Say Wong.
One of the few times that I think Say Wong's not actually at a con. Like, he's usually hanging out with tons of other people.
I was just about to ask, what anime fest is he reporting from tonight?
Kevin Hogan, he is on our show on Sunday nights on Saber Rattle. He does our Comic-Con adventures. Active Psychic Pokemon Bide Time mode. Are you out looking for Pokemon? Is that what's going on? Oops, sorry.
Debate night
begins. Yes, we have some good topics for tonight. Mezzo, our fabulous director. Hello. We have lots of fun stuff this week. Steve, everybody's just popping on.
Dang.
Our alerts must have gone out. Steve, how are you? I'm happy that there is not a fire that you're having to attend to right now. Quick bit of Kyber K business. My friend is willing to help out with the metal. What? Hey, with the metal lathe. Hey, woohoo!
Dude, way to start the show.
But I feel like I don't even have. This is my messenger right now. Like I'm, all these messages.
So be it.
All right. Republic Comic Con canceled this weekend. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're using that where Republic Comic Con was. I think they're using that as a staging ground for the fire departments that are helping fight that fire that they call the mosquito fire. So yeah, sorry about that. The next convention I will be, it's Fan Expo in SF. Yeah, that's going to be huge.
Hey, can I ask a question of
Yes.
of these anime fans?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Has anybody seen the Gungrave anime? And if so, what'd you think?
Gungrave. Is anybody familiar with the anime called Gungrave?
I feel like Say Wong can answer that question.
Say Wong is our resident anime nut. I just got back from working EM gigs for a carnival. Oof.
See, I'm the resident retro anime nut.
Who's the retro anime nut?
Me.
Oh, because Gungrave is from 2003, 2004. So is that retro? Is that not retro?
Oh no, I'm talking Ranma 1/2 from like 1987.
Gotcha.
Say Wong says I did see a bit of it.
Okay.
And Kevin's not familiar.
Yeah, Kevin's not. All right. Well,
okay.
There's a so Gungrave was based on a video game, PS2 game that was on the that was in Japan. It was popular in Japan and Korea, and then they made an anime out of it that was pretty popular, and now it's going to be a video game. There was like a follow-up video game in 2004, and now this is the first video game back called Gungrave Gore, and I'm one of the villains in the game. It's going to be for PS5 and PS4. comes
Woo!
out in November. But I was
Are
just
you,
curious if any of the anime people are aware of it, because I was hoping to use that to do some anime conventions. That would
right,
be
right,
my
right.
anime connection. So
Well, you know what? Say Wong says that he has seen it, and Say Wong is also our resident anime expert. So we will
mm,
get you connected to Say Wong and see. He work as Say Wong often volunteers at a lot of these events too, so he knows some of the
mm,
people on the inside. Um,
mm.
Say Wong
You can
says,
start Sewon can start a whisper campaign for me. Hey, I heard
"Yeah,
that John D. Michaels is coming around. You guys check out that.
that guy's
Amazing.
huge."
Yeah.
Did you know he was in
Well, let's
Squid
not
Game?
get personal.
Aww. Gungrave had a similar vibe to Trigun, is what Say Wong
Hmm.
says.
Okay, cool.
Mezzo, yeah, I know of it. Didn't see it. We used to go to anime conventions.
Hmm.
Villains make the world go round.
Well,
I
I
won't be
keeping
on,
it spinning then. I play a lot of villains.
right. Um, let's see. I won't be on, but my crazy travel story is getting kicked out of an Uber in San Francisco on my way to Twitter's headquarters. Oh man, you're not going to tell us the story when we hit that segment. You know what? And as that goes, I guess that's a good segue into getting into our topics for tonight.
Without our master of
Well,
segue.
Mezzo is directing from afar, from through the comments. Is directing.
That's how much power and control she has. She doesn't even need to
Mm,
be here, and she
yeah.
controls
Mhm.
all narratives. Should we start with travels, or should we start with speech? What do you guys want to start with?
Well, I think if I suspect that Anthony is going to have things to say on both topics, but I bet Anthony's going to have some good stories for travel stories. I've also got some travel stories as well.
All right, all right.
Um, uh, but I also think Anthony's going to, yeah, I'm sure Anthony's got some plenty to say on both topics. So I don't
Well,
know if
I
we
think
should.
we're just waiting a few
Hmm,
minutes for Anthony. Anthony's supposed to be in any time now, right? Wasn't
hmm.
he trying to log
Well,
in?
the
Wasn't that?
lighter topic is travel stories, and if the convention is we start with lighter, then
Well, let's
what
do
do the
some.
commenters say?
What do you guys say in the comments? Should we talk about freedom of speech, or should we talk about travel? Let's see, Kevin, drum up some memes from the anime that'll make great attention. Real quick, every other question in reels is what? Sorry, I'm doing a terrible job of reading. I went to
Mhm.
public high
I
school.
Oh my
I can't read from this distance. I have to do this in order to read, and then I look
Kevin
like an
says
old
travel.
man.
I'm like up here, like with the
Mm.
computer. Dude, I'm so damn
Yeah,
old.
yeah, me too. I'm having
Why
the
are you
same
so
problem.
old? Live
What's the
stream
alternative?
convention. Well, right, yeah, I guess. Hey,
Hi, everybody.
hey.
Hello.
Dear God, it's been a day and a week and then some.
Right,
Mm.
man. Are you just now getting back from your gig?
I literally just walked in the door.
Oh my God, dude! You're still wearing your work clothes.
I am.
You
And
look fantastic.
I drew on my eyebrows today. They're a little fierce.
That tie is a little fierce.
Oh, yeah, it's my Starry Night.
Yeah, I'm digging it. I am digging it. We haven't even started the topics yet. We were just about ready to get going. We actually have a bunch of people online, so we've been just talking to people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There we go. Frame my face.
All right. First hand, nice. Because you end up very lightheartedly. Sorry. Mezzo says, Anthony.
Hi.
Hello, beautiful.
Oh, so Mezzo says free speech first, so we end on a light note.
Okay, free speech first, so we end on a light note. Okay, let's do that then. Let's do that. I'm feeling like that's a good. Let me find the.
And Van, you should probably give the disclaimer on the free speech thing as to like what you mean by it. Like, are we gonna discuss this politically, or are we gonna discuss this, situational?
You know what? I really, I would like actually John to talk about that because I think the way John explained it out was a much better direction than where I was going because we've had similar conversations in the past. So, John, do you mind explaining your thoughts on this topic?
Well, I what I assumed it was about was that we were going to be talking about this idea that we're hearing all the time that people can't speak freely. Okay, first of all, the original topic, as you had presented it, was basically the same as cancel culture, which is that people don't feel like they can speak freely, which I think is a perfectly valid thing to discuss as well. And I think it's all of a piece. I think it would all be included. But I was also saying that this idea of freedom of speech, with there being the public sphere and the private sphere, wherein there's all these people always complaining about having their freedom of speech denied on private companies like Twitter, but that's a private company, so they can do whatever they want. But if we have all agreed, or you could at least argue that those places like Twitter have become the de facto public square, then that is denying somebody's freedom of speech. If the only way they can actually address the public is by using these things. And I think that starts to call into question all sorts of stuff like, is the internet a public thing? Like, is that a right to have access to the internet? Should that be considered a utility that the government guarantees to everybody? And then also, if it is the public square, should some place like Twitter, or should the government itself start some kind of, online public square where everybody can speak freely? Kind of like C-SPAN, but like in like Twitter.
That's boring. Yeah. Kevin says a reminder about banned books that are not allowed at the libraries. Yeah, totally. What do you got? What are your guys' thoughts? Anyone have any thoughts here, Anthony?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, this is not a real cigarette. This is a staged cigarette. I'm trying to actually quit smoking, but
Matt, what's up, Matt?
I have in my house. It's rose tea. For me, when I always hear about something like this, I always think of like comedians, because for me, I've always grown up with very like crass comedy as a thing. Like I think that the root of comedy is always as derived from acknowledging the bad things in the world. Like that's where all comedy comes from. But like you can't even tell a joke without someone getting all up in arms and and then it's like we don't have a discourse of ideas anymore. Where people can just openly talk about this. Like a lot of the things with a lot of the woke culture, especially with like gender reform and everything else, like I would literally just ask a question of, I don't understand this, make this make more sense. And it's like this immediate backlash of like, well, fuck you. You're a terrible human being. You're not on board with it already. You just need to educate yourself. And it's like, okay, but make it make sense to me, and then maybe we could have a discussion. But if
right.
you tell me you're right because you said you are, like that sounds stupid. And it's one of the things that makes me really scared to even go back to school, is like I'm going to deal with a bunch of people that they're not going to like what I have to say, because they're going to or propose something, like say it's like a philosophical thing, or philosophical, excuse me, where we say, what does determine right and wrong, and how do we find this? And then like it's like, well, no, I don't agree with you. Oh, well, then you're just terrible. You're just terrible because you don't agree with me because I'm automatically right because I'm 22. Like I don't know. That's where I kind of see some of it. At the same time, like the freedom of speech has its own thing. Like you are able to voice your opinion. You're able to say how you feel about things, but you're not allowed to incite violence. Like where it falls short is you can't yell fire in a crowded theater because that could create panic and disorder.
But to bring it back to what John was talking about, do you feel that like it's okay? For example, like Donald Trump got banned from, I think, YouTube and Twitter, and like he got banned from several Facebook, I think. And there's several people that have been banned from different platforms. there was another guy recently. Oh man, his name was really big, but he's kind of this male chauvinistic influencer who was banned off of like YouTube and Twitch.
He's the bald one with the big glasses.
Well, he's not bald. He's got really short hair. And he's always just, oh God, this is going to drive me friggin' nuts.
Because Meat Canyon made fun of him recently.
Somebody in the goddamn comments has to know who I'm talking about. He recently, it's the really big influencer. He's known for being a male chauvinist, but he's recently been banned off of many, huh? What?
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. I want to say his name is like.
I saw something about it, but I don't know the guy's name.
Right. So, I mean, should we ban these types of things? Because I believe in freedom of speech, but isn't there a point where things become dangerous?
It is
when you're out and out lying, when people are injecting themselves with fucking Clorox and shit because of some crazy shit they heard on Fox News.
Well, and that's just it. Donald Trump kind of did break the freedom of speech thing by inciting violence. That's what January 6th was all about. That was a huge riot that killed several officers and was a total like failing of what we have here in this country. Like, what is it? Sedition? It's sedition.
Right.
Yeah, but the thing is, Anthony, is that is already covered by another law. That was aiding and abetting or giving comfort to the nation's enemies. So that's already been covered by the law. So that doesn't have to be covered by freedom of speech.
Metso found it, by the way. It's Andrew Tate was the person. If you look up that guy, you'll see. Tate. Yeah, this guy's very very unusual. He sells these courses on how to pick up women and how to be a millionaire and floss in Lamborghinis and and if it was just that would be one thing, but there are accusations of like slave trades and abuse and all kinds of things. So recently Andrew Tate has been banned from several of the platforms, and so well, what do you think? I mean, let me ask you this, John. If there was, say, because even up here, I think Kevin said something about. Here we go. I think I heard Obama or some recent politician say that internet is a necessity utility nowadays. Matt said free Wi-Fi for all. So if there was, say, a government Facebook, right? One place where we were all hooked into and we can get our information. When would you say that something is too dangerous and that they shouldn't be able to post there, right? I can't walk into a movie theater and yell fire. So should I be able to say some crazy shit on the internet that's going to put other people's lives in danger? And then the question becomes, who determines if that shit is crazy? Because because you don't want to vaccinate your kids, maybe you think I'm the crazy one because I do want to vaccinate my kids.
So I feel like this is already something that Facebook has been dealing with because, let's face it, Facebook kind of already is a platform that everyone has access to that is giving people misinformation. And that was a thing that they were getting called out on. It's like, look, there needs to be some sort of fact checker, some sort of independent party that can flag things of this is not a verifiable fact. And it would be finding some sort of institution that can be a non-biased, non-politically driven one that doesn't feed into the algorithm. The whole algorithm thing is really fucked up and weird. People are getting their information from all sorts of different sources, and none of it's really like passing through any sort of filter of reality. And I think that's a big part of why people are so detached from reality in these times. Like, it's funny because we look at all the controversy with the new Little Mermaid and how there's black princess from Disney, and I always look back and go, Brandy did Cinderella and no one fucking batted an eye back then, but we also weren't so divided back then. Like,
right.
We just enjoyed the movie. The fact that people are like all up in arms about this girl doing it, I find really stupid. Only for the fact that, again, Ariel's whole thing is about having this voice, and that girl can sing. Halle Bailey has a gorgeous voice. I think it's great, and seeing all the feedback of the kids seeing the representation is great. At the same time, having like a Latina Snow White seems a little bit much because it's like the one princess that literally says skin white as snow as like a part of the description. Like that's where it gets a little bit weird, where we're starting to get muddled, where like there's progressive things that are great, and then there's stuff that's a bit extreme because it's just extreme.
Well, even in that you were talking about was it Snow White with Brandy, or which was Cinderella?
No,
Right.
Cinderella.
Didn't she have like an Asian father or something like that in that one? And like the family was so mixed ethnically that it just became almost like an absurdity that it was no longer an absurdity. Do you know what I'm saying? It was like so mixed that you no longer thought about the fact that it was mixed because everybody is from a different culture.
Well, I also don't feel like people really focus on race as much back then because it was more of a, we don't see color, we don't see this, we want to have diversity represented. Nowadays, that's not quite the same. Like race totally matters now. In the 90s, I don't necessarily know if that was felt that way. Like I certainly didn't feel that as a kid. Every show that I watched had a very diverse cast of characters that always had like the one redhead, the one blonde, the Asian kid, the Mexican kid, the black kid, and that was the classroom, and that was reflected in my school. So it made sense for me because it was normal. But we didn't like fixate on it, and we didn't be like, oh, well, you have more privilege than me. Like it was never about that back then. So it's a weird shift that almost seems like we've taken 3 or 4 steps back, but like in the name of progress. And I don't see if people like understand that it's just history repeating itself, but on the other side.
Right. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just a process of me getting old, but I feel like when I was young and you watched the news or what have you, like facts were just facts. You know what I mean? And now it's so hard to know what a fact is because you're hearing things with so many different slants, but it's the same story. Have facts changed? Or I feel like it's become a process of these 24-hour news channels now that just need to put something out. They need to have constant Oh,
the last 2
content.
years I don't watch the news. I've given up on it because I've seen that they are just projecting their own narrative and not able to reflect upon stuff. And just
Captain Planet.
Thank you, Captain Planet. Where's that fucking remake? I need that right there. Captain fucking Planet should be a movie this day and age, especially with climate change.
Right.
I want that movie. I want that one. But yeah, I can't watch the news set networks anymore.
But what I'm saying was it the rise of these networks that caused all this, separation of what the truth is? Or is there something else going on? Why can we not seem to narrow down what the truth is anymore?
Well, it's because I honestly, this is my deep state theory thing, excuse me, QAnon, but I feel like the powers that be really are starting to realize that people are waking up to the fact that like the class separation is the biggest issue. The wealth inequality is the biggest X factor. And by having us constantly fight with each other over stupid, superficial shit, like, our skin color or our gender, things that we can't control when we're born, having us bitch and moan about that and being all up in arms about just those issues, that's keeping us from actually looking at the people that really need to start, paying their fair share or just make way ridiculous, too much money. Like nobody should be a trillionaire in our fucking world. We should not have the top 1.01% have 90% of the wealth in the world. It's utterly ridiculous. No one should have that kind of money. No one should have access to that kind of money. And the system is broken. All of the systems are broken. Like people can't afford a house now. They can't afford health care. They can't afford anything because they want us to fight over the crumbs with each other rather than look at the people and be like, hi, can you maybe trickle that down since you've been there for fucking 30 years?
That's how the French Revolution got started.
Yeah.
History
will repeat itself.
Swisted says objective truths will hold up to scrutiny. The scientific method should advise what we believe when it comes to objective truths. I don't disagree with that, but I just feel like, there's so many people that get paid to spin stories different ways or to put angles on it. Metza was saying she wanted to hear from Fours and John on this.
Yes. Sorry.
Fours, what are your thoughts?
Pass, because I don't even know where we are. We went from freedom of speech to race to now we're trickling wealth. So I have no idea where we are.
Sorry.
I mean, it's still. I feel like it still comes
Get me off the
down
screen.
to freedom of speech. We were talking originally. John was talking about having, say, different platforms, and is it really freedom of speech when you have these platforms? But then again, they're private companies that are providing it, right? When we're talking about Facebook, we're talking about Twitter, Instagram. If you get kicked off of these, is that really freedom of speech? Or hey, sorry, Johnny Collado is in the house. We're gonna have him on Sunday night.
Whoa.
Dark Wolf in the house.
Wolf Paws here.
Is that really freedom of speech? And if so, should people be allowed to have that freedom of speech unconditionally? Or, is there a line where things get dangerous? And then who's to say where that line is?
Pass. I want to hear from John first, because let me process that for a minute.
John, what do you got?
Well, I used to think that that speech should be completely unfettered. Like you should be able to say whatever you want, whenever you want. Right. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I don't believe in that now, but I kind of feel like we're just kind of getting what we deserve. I think that freedom of speech is important and should not be obstructed in pretty much any way. But in just like with I know this always comes to Trump bashing, but when we have norms that we agree upon as a society, and there's one that I always like to think about, which is when you go to the beach and you take all your stuff out and you put it on your towel, or you put it under your towel, or you put your wallet in your shoes, or your keys in your shoes, or whatever, and then you go swimming.
Right.
And that used to just be the way it was. And that is exactly the way it still is here in Korea. Like I told this story, I think last time I was on, about old men getting drunk and passing out on the street, and they would take their wallets out and their cell phones and stack it up next to them, and then just fall asleep, and nobody would touch it. But so there was this convention and this norm that was just the way it was. We all agreed without having to agree. But it was if you talked about it, maybe that would shatter it. So nobody ever really even talked about it. But now I feel like all of our norms are being shattered. And it was one of those norms, I think, was with freedom of speech. It was just there was some stuff you didn't talk about. Now, I think that those norms were good, and they were also bad. I think a lot of the stuff, we should include race stuff, like the fact that you didn't talk about that people who were not of the majority in America couldn't speak to truths that they knew, because that was considered disruptive. And there's so much of, or this idea that you don't talk about religion, or that you don't talk about politics in certain places and stuff. All of those norms are all put in place to keep the powers that be in power.
Right.
And so I know that Forza was saying that it was, the conversation had gone away from us, but I think it's all of a piece. I think it's all the same conversation.
It's all related.
Yeah.
Really quickly, what's up, Dave?
And I think that's oh, hey. All right. There we go. Now we get he heard the Trump bashing, and then I think he
came running.
His spider sense was tingling. And then anyway, so but then in terms of this, in terms of the in terms of the platforms, I think that I love, it's such delicious irony that that capitalism is what is shutting down right wing hate speech, because it's that
It's
you can't have it both ways. You can't like want there to be free market and then complain when the free market says it doesn't want your hate
your
speech.
product,
So
right?
yeah, so anyway, I think I said everything I wanted to say about it. I'm interested now. Maybe Fours can comment, or if Dave wants to get involved.
Fours, you got anything, and then Dave can maybe get caught up on where we're at.
Yeah, I'll give you my 2 cents. So, in terms of the freedom of speech, I think it heavily depends upon the terms and conditions of the media outlet you're utilizing. Take Facebook, for example. We've seen major figureheads get the boot from places like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, but for the most part, you've got just about anybody saying whatever the freak they want to say on these platforms, and really the only way that it's stopped is that it's reported, or it violates a term and condition. But one thing I also kind of want to point out is when you do speak freely on these platforms, be prepared for consequences, not just media consequence. Let me give you an example, and it's funny because I don't work at this place anymore, so I can go ahead and call this out. Just a few weeks ago, when we talked about quiet quitting, I had a number of people blocked on my Facebook, and my Facebook is set to private, so you don't see what I post. But we spoke about quiet quitting here on Kyber Cave, and I made a post concerning quiet quitting on my personal Facebook post on my personal Facebook feed, so only my friends can see it.
Right.
And yet it's still somehow the subject of quiet quitting was screenshotted by someone and spread around my job.
Oh shit.
And in the post, for those of you who are friends with me on Facebook, if you read it, I don't admit to quiet quitting, nor do I say I'm for it or against it. All I do is explain it. But I come to find out through that nice little grapevine of drama you hear at your job, Aaron's quiet quitting. He's admitting to it. That drama just started right up. So again, be careful what you post on your Facebook page. Are you free to post what you want? Yeah, pretty much. But always be prepared for the backlash.
There are
because
consequences.
People are going to make assumptions. And
Well,
more
I think
often than not,
kind of what I
you've
was
got
trying to say with where, like, I know I got scatterbrained and I was like bringing it all some free speech, race, this, that. It's that certain subject matters have become so taboo. You can't even comment on it without all of this backlash.
Mhm.
And yet, what John was saying, that's a cultural thing about you can leave your stuff out in public and people don't touch it because just a common understanding that you don't touch what's not yours. In America, unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are basically under the impression of I can fuck over whoever I want, whenever I want, as long as I don't get caught. And even then,
Porch pirates.
well, yeah, I see people who get away with bullshit all the time, like even at my job, with zero consequence. They don't actually do their work, or they just claim that they do their work, or they accuse other people of things, or they incite gossip with each other, and there's no consequences. And I mean, like, Trump is a great example of someone who's like the Teflon Don. Nothing that man does seems to ever have a fucking consequence. And he's done some pretty horrendous, terrible things that anybody else, if they had done it, if they weren't if you're not a famous person that's already got a lot of money, you would have consequences, yet he doesn't. And same thing with a lot of other people that are very ultra wealthy. They don't have consequences because, well, I could just buy my way out of it. And what are you going to do about it? Nothing.
Right.
All
Thoughts?
right, what's Dave got to say?
Yes, Dave.
I don't feel like getting into a big political thing, but I'm going to say this. As far as free speech, it depends on what you're talking about and who you're talking about it to. if somebody doesn't agree with you, all of a sudden it's being called hate speech. You're getting labeled a bigot or a racist, just for stupid shit. I mean, people are okay. Like, let's talk about Disney for a second. There's or the new Lord of the Rings
Ooh,
show.
I think your mic is crackly or something. Is anyone else getting that, or is it just me?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Uh,
talk.
Okay. Well, you're just gonna have to deal
I think
with
we
it
can
because this is
handle
my
it.
turn to talk,
Yeah.
and it's free speech.
yeah.
Shut up! Turn off that mic! Ban, quick!
Yeah. So as soon as the conservatives talk, shut them down. No. Anyways, no. I mean, so there was a lot of people who didn't like some of the new Obi-Wan series, and they were. If you actually go and see what the comments really were, I've looked at the actual comments. There's nothing racist about them. They just think that the character doesn't belong. Same thing with some of the comments about the new Lord of the Rings series. I've been watching it. I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings. I don't see there anything really wrong with any of the characters. However, the writing is very dry. The storyline is pretty boring. It doesn't have the sense of adventure like the true to tale Tolkien actually had in the books. But people are going, oh well, that's racist just because you don't like integrated characters. You don't like minority characters being placed in. No, has nothing to do with that. So I think it really depends on what you're talking about and who you're talking about it to.
Well,
Right.
sure, but I mean, the thing is that there actually was people saying super fucked up, racist, and sexist shit.
Yeah,
In
maybe
all
a couple
those,
of
for all those
maybe,
things.
Sure, maybe a couple of people,
Yeah.
but it wasn't this big blown out.
It was certainly more than a couple.
It wasn't the majority comment on what was wrong with it. It was the fringe.
Yeah, I
element.
totally agree that that there is a conflating that goes on where people take it as somebody disliking something, like it just not being their cup of tea, and or having criticisms about the storytelling or whatever, and conflating that with all the other actual people who are saying horrible, awful things about how they want to cut people's heads off, and all this fucked up shit that comments that I don't know. I don't.
Some people have
I don't
said.
dwell on these. Yeah, no, I see people share them places, and I have no idea what percentage of it is, because I don't actually give a shit about any of those shows, and I don't watch any of them, so I could give a fuck. But I do. Yeah, there. I know I can say it from my position here where I am in Korea, that there is a really loud anti-feminist group here. Like a large percentage of the young male population is very anti-feminist and targets women, and actually the current president said, like, one of these groups asked him if he was a feminist, and said he was anti-feminist, like, in order to appease these young men. So, like, that's what decided this election in Korea, most recent election in Korea, was being openly anti-feminist, and so women were crying everywhere after this election, but it was brutal. Anyway, so there are. I have seen certainly here, like, actual huge numbers of people. We call them netizens here, like, attacking other groups of people, and I don't doubt that it's happened. Like, just to speak to what David was saying. I don't want to conflate your disagreements with the storytelling devices or the characterizations or anything for these shows that you like, Um, but I think that you saying, like, and that's all it is about what everybody is saying, is dismissing the attacks that other people have been getting and have been feeling. And as speaking as somebody who has been attacked by millions of people in the world for art that I've done, I don't like having that taken away from me, like my own point of view. So I wouldn't dismiss what those other people, what these people have seen and what they witnessed, and what the kind of comments that they are receiving. So I think it's somewhere in the middle. Like I don't think it's like, oh, it's just a couple people. I think it's more than a couple people, and I think that you cannot be a racist and there still being other people who are racist at the same time.
Sure, I agree with that. I came into this whole conversation, we're 40 minutes into it. So how about if I instead just share my opinion on what freedom of speech should be?
Yes.
Sure.
Now,
do it.
I'm a true patriot to this country. I was in the military. I once swore an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I hold my mindset entirely to those words. There's a lot of shitty things that people will say. However, I will still fight for the right for their ability to say that. I will fight to the death for that right, even if it's shit I disagree with, and that does include saying some pretty awful things. Now, unless somebody's going and actively, calling for the head of someone else, and actively saying, "Oh, we must murder this group of people" or something like that, well, that's taking it a bridge too far. But if people want to say some shitty things, they still have the right to say it.
Well, and okay, so here's
I think we all pretty much agreed with that. I think we all kind of said that we agree with that.
Okay. So here's where I don't want to say that I disagree. I do agree, but where I have challenges or where it's difficult in my mind to make a blanket statement like that is, I feel like especially in the last, I don't know, 5-10 years, we've seen the rise of more people that are, what are they called? MAPS, minor attracted people or something like that.
Yes.
And this is, I'm not saying that this didn't exist before, but it wasn't something that I'm not saying it's socially acceptable. It's not socially acceptable.
Can you elaborate on that?
These are people that are openly admitting to being attracted to minors. Yeah. They're adults pedophiles
that are looking for a socially acceptable way of being accepted in society, and they're trying to glomp onto the LGBTQIA, whatever the fuck it is now, Rainbow Mafia thing, by saying it's a sexuality.
Squad.
I can't help it, and so therefore society has to accept it. And again, I'm one of the biggest advocates saying no.
It's not a sexuality.
It's still wrong. You're still preying upon children. That shall never, ever, ever should be socially acceptable. And there's no way of progressive mindset or talking around things that should allow that. But this is my big issue. I've been labeled bigot. I've been labeled all sorts of horrible things from my own community because I called them out on this when the whole gender spectrum thing hit the fan 6 years ago. Because I was like, look, you're using a lot of fast and loose terminology by saying, well, because I feel this way, because I feel this way, you have to accept it because you need to be a bigger person about it. And I feel that that's just terribly written ways of thinking. That is not the best way that you can prove your argument. It is so vastly different from, two men or two women who love each other in a very long-term relationship or want to have society accept the fact that there are men who love men that have been together for 20 years plus whatever, and should have every right to have that life together without persecution, versus someone who's like, well, I like someone who's 10 and I identify as 6, even though I'm 54.
Right.
That's such a huge, drastic shift in thinking. And one of the things, okay, so John was just mentioning, sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained today.
I just want to say, hold on.
Criticize him. Go ahead.
I just want to say, if anybody wants to call for the mass execution of people like that, I'm all for that. Absolutely. That part would not be a bridge too far.
I wouldn't say mass execution. I think that people like that need help, and we need to be able to have resources for people who recognize that they have that and have the help. That's like having like a drug addict recognizing that they have a problem that is detrimental to themselves and society because, they're either giving out blowjobs for crack or they're stealing shit because they're on crack. Like, crack is still
giving
bad.
out blowjobs for crack and giving out blowjobs to minors is an entirely different situation.
Okay, but so
if your mind already works in that category, you're beyond help.
Okay, wait. So, David, this is, and because I see this meme a lot, and this is where I'm probably going to become really unpopular with a lot of people. But I've seen those memes a lot about, the quickest way to cure the pedophile problem is with the bullet or whatever. And this is what I would say. Did you know that most people that are sexually molested are molested by people that they know closely? It's typically a family member or an uncle or an auntie or a close family friend. And did you know that the majority of molesters, people who have been molesters, go on to becoming molesters themselves? So what I would ask you is, if somebody had done that to your child, and your child had a problem because of something that was done with them, would you feel the same way if they had feelings towards? And I'm really trying, I mean, I know your family situation, so I'm trying not to use any names or make it personal, but the idea remains that if this was something that was done to your child, and they were now struggling with this, would you really still say that a bullet's the easiest way to take care of the problem?
Well, it certainly would be for the person who did that to my child.
Right, but what if your child now becomes a predator? Because it's very likely that a lot of people who have, and I'm not saying everybody who's been molested will go on to be a molester, but I'm saying that a majority of people who are molesters have themselves been molested as a child.
Okay, that may be an unfortunate fact in some cases. This is where certain facts become very inconvenient. However, I think that if somebody was molested and goes on to become a molester, there's probably something that was already wrong with them too. Something else. Because generally speaking, I would like to think that most people have a sense of morality that would realize the horrific conditions under which they suffered, would not want to go and do that to someone else. That'd be like,
but a lot of people aren't in this.
Well, then, what are you saying? That people who get raped go on to go and rape other people?
A lot of people. I mean,
really? So there's an epidemic of unfortunate women who have out there become
inflation, right?
Well, not only women get raped, a lot of men get raped as well. Sorry, Anthony, were you saying something?
I don't know what the actual numbers are there.
Where we're getting that conflation thing. So the process of grooming is typically a older individual who takes a liking to a younger individual, and they become their friend, and you come over, and so it's not necessarily this like emotionally scarring thing. They convince these children that you're so much more mature for your age. Let's hang out and do these other things together, and it's one of those things that they kind of become indoctrinated into this idea that it's okay. And that's vastly different from somebody like attacking you in an alley and raping you against a wall. Like that's not what happens in these things. So it might not necessarily be something that's like damaging or harmful, or they might enjoy it at the time. It still doesn't make it any less wrong. Like that's the problem there, right? So like it's kind of like the double stigma of like if a male teacher does it with a female student, like, oh, everyone's up in arms. But when a female teacher does it with a male student, everyone's like, nice.
All right.
There's a whole episode of South Park that fucking goes into that.
Right.
But again, I think going back to the freedom of speech thing, it's the fact that people feel comfortable now promoting this thing as a progressive idea that's scary, but people talking against it, oh, well, you're going to be demonized because you're not on board with what's going on.
Sounds like the death of social
said,
moral social norms to me.
Well, yeah, again, but what John was saying with his craft and people coming at him and the comments and whatnot, like, first of all, I can say if you're an entertainer or an artist, don't read the comments. I'm also very curious what comments were made to you in the sense that they were really, scary or hateful or hurtful in that sense.
Well, John got a lot of negative criticism because of Squid Game. All of the VIPs did, because a lot of people were saying that those scenes seemed very disjointed from the movies, or people were criticized about their acting, but didn't really know, kind of the backstory or how much preparation John actually had with the role. I mean, obviously, we're talking about you, John.
Watching that recently, like I just rewatched some of those episodes because I'm a fan. I remember watching it. I didn't feel like there was anything out of place with them. Like I wish that they would have been brought in sooner, because I feel like there was more to those characters that could have been explored with that. At the same time, like I see what he was talking about, that it's kind of a caricature of like the ultra privileged rich white people in the other parts of the world. Like, so I could see where that fits in. My only big thing, like, because I've had this happen with other people when in regards to either drag or art or acting or whatever, you have to go into it knowing that there are going to be people who criticize you, and you just have to kind of take it in stride and let it fall off of you and not let it affect you. Like if I paint something that I'm really proud of and someone says, oh, well, that's a piece of shit. Okay, well then go paint your own fucking thing. Like I don't have to take shit from somebody over something that I'm proud of as a work of art. At the same time, I'm not going to go out there and make a work of art that promotes like go out and kill the Jews or go out and rape children.
And not to take anything from you.
Terrible. Like that.
Not to take anything away from you, but none of your works of art are probably going to be the #1 TV show in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Get on one of the biggest hits in the world, and then we can talk. Until then, shut the fuck up. That's the best advice I can give on that circumstance.
I like the way Doc Holliday said it. I like the way Doc Holliday said, in order for me to be offended, I first must value your opinion.
Right.
And I like that one.
It was funny. Like, I really gained some perspective from that experience. I have to say, like, it was terrifying at first, and then it was incredibly liberating afterwards. Like once I realized that, like, wait a second, none of these people matter at all to me, like in my day-to-day life.
Right.
I mean, they all matter as human beings, but I mean, like,
they don't pay your bills.
You does not
yeah. Well, why do I care what any of them think? So.
Right.
But I always just love the fact that everybody complains about somebody. This is a quick aside. Everybody complains about how jarring it was, but nobody seems to put two and two together that somebody wrote all of it and somebody directed all of it. So why are you blaming the characters actor and not the person who actually made it all up and directed it?
Right.
Anyway, I don't understand. I don't understand how we got onto the whole maps thing. What was the relationship between that and free speech?
Well, so my question is like, David was talking about defending anybody's right to say anything that they want. What I had brought up was
as long as it doesn't incite actual harm.
Well, that's the thing. Wait, hold on. That's the thing with these groups, these map groups, right? They talk about having these attractions to minors and stuff. They don't. Well, I mean, as far as I know, I've only seen documentaries. I don't,
They're trying to normalize it and say that there's nothing wrong with it.
right, but they won't. They don't actually admit to doing it. They don't talk. They don't say that they have sex with children. They say they're attracted to children, or it should be acceptable. But to me, by normalizing that, you were leading to somebody eventually getting hurt as a child by just normalizing it and making that acceptable. Is that something that I mean you defend as a soldier of the country? Somebody's right to say I like little boys in tight jeans?
Damn it, that's okay. When put that way, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. And
That's a separate thing too. That's gotten pretty fucked up right here. I mean,
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. I mean, it's hard for me to just jump on board and blanket say I support everybody's right to free speech, because I don't support everybody's right.
Let me put it this way. If they are saying that they are attracted, but know that it's wrong and seek help, then that would be a different thing. If they're saying that they're attracted and they think that that's normal and natural, then fuck,
that's where we have an issue.
That's where we have an issue.
Yeah, man, that's a tough one. I mean, I really think that that's one of those things that really gets to the that gets to the meat of it. Like it's
and then the other question is where does it become, who gets to say what's normal? Like I think about, I hear these stories about women in other parts of the world who, when were born, their vaginas are actually sewn shut, and then the husband on their marriage night actually cuts that or rips it open or something.
That's the first I've ever heard of that one.
I've never heard of that.
No,
I've heard of some freaky ass shit.
They also do.
Been one of them.
If female mutilation will actually cut off.
I've heard of people cutting off the clitoris, but I've never heard of someone
Yeah.
sewing the kind of shot.
Right. So there's different cultures that do different things, and there are women that still defend those
practices. A lot better option than that.
So
those practices as well.
Can I bring this up? Because since you said that, Eli brought it to my attention just the other day that there is this huge women's protest happening in Iran right now.
Yeah.
There was a woman whose hijab was blown off, from the wind or something. It fell off. It was just an innocuous thing, and they fucking killed her for it.
Yeah, they did her death. I read that.
Now there's this huge cultural shift where there's women marching in the streets, burning their hijabs, and finally taking a stand against the Muslim culture, which is basically hey, there's a huge problem with the patriarchy here of men controlling women and deciding what's right and wrong, and now you're literally putting someone to death over something that wasn't even intentional, and so it's one of those things that's tricky, because how do you talk about different cultures and different religions,
right,
offending somebody, but so blatantly saying, "Hi, what you did right there was kind of fucked up," right?
There are people in there's women in currently right now. I can't remember which country it is. There's women in another country right now who are fighting for their right to wear a hijab as well. So,
oh wow.
I mean, the thing is that in both cases, it's about a woman having the right to choose whatever she wants to do with her body, though. So,
right.
But the what was I going to say? God damn it, I lost it. You guys continue. I'm going to see if I can remember what I was going to say.
Did somebody have something that in here? Fours, thoughts? What are you've been awfully quiet, man?
Because I don't shut the fuck up.
We love you, Anthony.
I'm shifting gears on this one. I could only imagine that doing something like that, seeing something like that, say on a vacation, would be the absolute most twisted and fucked up vacation experience I could ever think of having.
Seeing what?
Like somebody
No,
being.
Segue.
Oh. We're
So-
not even there. We're not even there yet.
Let's get the fuck out of this. Let's get the fuck out of this topic.
Wow. Okay. Well, is everybody else done? Has anybody else got any closing thoughts on this then?
There was this one time at band camp.
Yeah, I remember. I remember what I wanted to talk about. What related to this was Germany. Because of World War II and Hitler, Germany now you can't openly espouse any Nazi sympathies or anti-Jewish sentiments or anything. So their freedom of speech is specifically curtailed around those topics. And from what I can tell, it doesn't do anything to, limit the happiness level of their people. So I'm just wondering, so we have our own problem here where now there's been like this kind of white supremacy movement. I'm saying here, but in America, there's like white supremacy movement has kind of been given voice and is suddenly marching and holding rallies. And I mean, they always did, but they're doing it in larger numbers. And as well, they're being paid attention to more by the media. Some of that, I'm sure, could just be the media exploiting them for getting clicks. But what do you guys think about that kind of limits to free speech?
Having certain categories that are limited.
Yeah, I mean, so if you have, let's just take white supremacy in and of itself, or anything that's associated with it, like if you are saying that there is a Jewish cabal that is like behind the international banking system controlling the world, or if that you think that white people are superior and that other races shouldn't be allowed to do whatever. I don't know what the fuck their agenda is, but whatever, those kinds of things. Do you think that should be allowed?
I don't think you ever could get something to pass like that in the United States. You'd have too many people arguing that their rights are being taken away.
But is it like, if you're right, and now this is in Germany. This is what's happening in Germany. So I'm just saying we have a test case where speech like that is limited, and it doesn't seem to be having any negative consequences whatsoever, except for people. Like it's similar to what we were talking about with the maps thing. Like it only is limiting people that want to do harm to other citizens. So now, I mean, being able to, you can say like, well, I should be able to say whatever I want. But if you're openly calling for certain types of citizens to not have rights or to be abused in some way.
Right. But that wouldn't work because we have a Republican Party.
David was saying?
That wouldn't work because there's a lot of people here that actively work for other people not to have specific rights.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean,
you mean like the Democrats
and
women?
women?
Do that. Yeah.
I would like to hear how the Democrats are doing that. What is it? I'm not a Democrat, by the way, but I would like to hear. I have no idea what people are saying about I'm always curious about this actually. What is it that you think that the Democrats rights are being taken away by Democrats? I'm very curious.
No, I'm saying rights are constantly saying that people are trying to take away their rights.
Democrats
That's
are saying
what I'm
that?
referring to. A lot of Democrats say, "Oh, our rights are under attack. Our rights for this are under attack, but we don't like what you're saying, so we want to
Women's
shut you
rights
down."
are under attack after they overturn Roe v. Wade, and gay people are
Yeah, I mean,
we're next.
that's a pretty big rights being attacked. And now they're threatening to get rid of same-sex marriage and even getting rid of birth control. And
that like a fucking month and a half ago when that happened, because I knew damn well that's next on the block. So first of all, religious rights, your religious freedom does not mean that you get to make laws for everyone else because of your religion. That's absurd.
Or any religion.
Yes, I feel again with the freedom of speech thing, everyone should be entitled to have an opinion or speak their mind about what they feel about things. But as soon as you start to demonize an entire group monolithically, that's where you have a failing. If you suddenly say that this entire group, because of my view about like how I interacted with certain people in it, now is everyone's responsible for it, that's a problem. So when we talk about the Nazi metaphors, you know, hating the Jews or brown people or things like that, there's something horribly wrong with that, because you're literally labeling an entire group of people monolithically with this idea of they're terrible because of this reason. We have the same double standard, though, here in America when we have people say, oh, well, black people can't be racist, when I've literally heard some of the most racist things come out of people of color about other people of color. It's the most ridiculous, absurd double standard I've ever heard. And that's a problem too. So you can have the freedom of speech to say that you agree or disagree with things, but we're not in a place right now where people can actually do that, because we've now started to demonize other groups and they don't realize or like reflect on the fact that they are actually part of the same problem that they were also facing. So that's where I stand. As long as you are talking about hate against others, that's a problem. If you're trying to justify your own terrible actions of how you hurt other people, that's also a problem. We should be able to address issues within our country or with others culturally across the world. If there's a country that's totally mistreating their people, they should be called out. There should be consequences of that person in leadership is a problem. And those people, the people with the influence and power that we're talking about, that's why they're getting taken off these social platforms, because they're literally trying to lionize people in an aggressive movement to hate others because of their particular viewpoints, that those others, for being others, are bad. That's where I think we have this big discourse.
I want to. I'm very curious. Anthony, you and I both kind of just jumped all over Dave when he was starting to talk. I am very curious. I would like to hear what Dave has to say without jumping on him about like what rights do you feel are of yours are being threatened by Democrats or the left or progressives or whatever you want to say. And I'm also just curious, do you think that January 6th was free speech?
Okay, so January 6th was a bunch of fucked up thugs who illegally went and stormed the Capitol building. All the people who actually perpetrated that probably should go to jail because they were trespassing, they were vandalizing. That wasn't free speech. Anytime that it involves a riot, that is no longer free speech. That is now violence. That is now breaking the law. Okay,
how about the aiding and abetting and giving comfort to the nation's enemies when it comes to an action of government, like in this case the certification of the election. Do you think that that it is free speech to aid and abet and give comfort to those thugs, as you just called them?
aid and abet and give comfort. Can you be a little more specific?
Sure, I could be specific. I could say when Trump said, "We love you," to the people, "Go home, we love you," to the people who were attacking them. Inciting them in the first place would also, by saying we're going to go to the Capitol and we're going to give him hell, if Mike Pence doesn't do blah blah blah, all that stuff. Is that also free speech, or? Obviously, the argument is being made that falls under the Sedition Act, but
you can. Okay, so the best way I can explain this is if he actually used the words "storm the Capitol," I want you to storm the Capitol, then that would be incitement. Now, if he didn't use those words, but it was interpreted that way, then it's the people who interpreted that way that are in the wrong.
But it's clearly insinuated that way. That's
is it though?
That's a semantic thing.
So okay, all right. Well, hold on. So in that sense, now, do you think the White House and a lot of the people in the White House should also maybe go under the gun now for the fact that when people were protesting outside Justice Kavanaugh's personal house, somebody actually getting arrested there for attempted murder, and they were saying, "Oh, it's okay. You can go and protest in front of a Supreme Court justice's home." Do you think that's incitement at that point? You can go ahead and do whatever. We support you.
Who said that?
First of all, you are
AOC?
Allowed to protest in a public place, so yeah, you can.
Okay.
If there was somebody inciting violence, then yes, they also are not doing something. They're also doing something wrong.
Okay, so when the guy, I don't know his name, the guy who actually got in trouble with a gun, a knife, duct tape, and even surrendered himself to the police, saying that he had plans to kill Justice Kavanaugh.
Mm-hmm.
That people like, say, AOC, who still supported people continuing to protest after something like that occurred, is that maybe insinuated that maybe she was kind of hoping that there would be violence?
Did she say, "Hey, you should go out in front of Kavanaugh's house and give him hell"? You should go out
listen.
there
Okay. I want to
do something about it. You should go hurt.
I want to concede a point.
Did Trump say, "Hey, I want you to go hurt Pence"?
Yes, he did. But I want to concede a point. I want to concede. Yeah, I want to concede a point to David. I do think, from your perspective, with people who are protesting there, I think people have every right to protest in a public place when against a clearly corrupt Supreme Court who obviously lied in order to get their positions and then take away the rights of more than half the population. I do think you certainly have the right to protest there, but I will agree that if a public person who is being listened to by those protesters, if there is somebody who is clearly fucked in the head and wants to kill somebody,
tiger somewhere?
Is there? Sorry, that's traffic behind me. Then that public person should point out that whatever that person did was indeed wrong. But that doesn't mean that people still shouldn't be able to protest there. And they should make that distinction. If she didn't make that distinction, I will say, yeah, maybe she should have made that distinction. But I think that's very different from the incitement that Trump clearly spreading a bunch of lies about the government about the election being stolen and all this bullshit. I mean, there's not even in the same category.
Oddly, the one of the few times that I'll jump on David's side, I actually thought it was kind of fucked up that these people went to prison when they stormed the Capitol, because I thought that the Second Amendment right to bear arms was against tyranny of government. And I'm not saying that I agree with them, but if they believed that tyranny was happening, don't they have the right by the Second Amendment to bear arms against enemies of the state? If
No,
their
that's not what
president is telling them,
that's not that was Jefferson said that. That's not in the Constitution that it's against the tyranny of the government.
So this is
All it
another
is,
one of those
there's supposed to be a
places
militia.
Yeah, it's an organized militia against having armed government officials taking place and vacancy in your house.
okay, so that's my bad then.
They can't take an entire city captive and be like, this is now a government encampment. That's something you have a right to fight against. As far as like what happened again on January 6th, it was a big lie about how the election was stolen from me because I didn't win. Because people mailed in their ballots, so it must have been falsified. And they filed case after case after case after case in all of these states, and people who were appointed by the Republicans scrutinized all of these results and found absolutely fucking nothing. And yet you still have Republican officials who can't say, did Joe Biden win the election like legitimately? Well, I mean, he's the president, but I still don't really agree with the outcome. That's the absurdity. That's the absurdity. And again, the flaming of the white nationalists in our society definitely happened as soon as he came down that fucking escalator and did the Mexicans are rapists, they're drug pushers, they're all these cartel people. We need to just go ahead and get all these people off the border. That was an incitement against an entire group. We had the same thing happen after the election where, again, he didn't win. So therefore, everyone else just lied. It's sad. It's sad that people are just so mired in that mindset of I got to be on this side or this side to not view objective reality and say, hey, maybe this is kind of fucked up. Like, even as somebody who voted for Joe Biden, I don't want him to run again for next time. I don't think he should be president for a second term. He was like legitimately the only person they forced down our throat again, and it was the lesser of two evils. I feel like the best thing that we could do as an American society. Sorry, my family just came home. Is to have more parties. We need to have more than just two. We need to have like 6 or 7. We need the liberals and the people in the between to actually have some gravitas behind them. And we need to get rid of these people who have been lifelong elected officials. You should not be in public office for 40 fucking years. You should not be a career politician. And we need different walks of life in positions of public service. I need doctors, I need teachers, I need artists, I need students, I need other people than just lawyers and businessmen fucking running the country, because they are the ones that are writing the rules and fucking things up.
Okay. Good point.
I agree with all that.
Today. Thank you. Change the topic. Segue.
Yeah.
I just want to say I think something I think is really funny about when you see all this stuff about how they talk about Trump now. Like, they always have to say the convention has always been, you say president for the rest of your life. Like, it's always President Carter, President Obama, and Biden after will still be called President Biden. But for Trump, they always have to say former president, because the convention, like, now you have to break the convention in order to combat this lie that's been spread around. So now it's like that whole convention is now broken as well. You can't just call him President Trump forever now. You have to call him former President Trump.
Right.
So, anyway, okay, let's change the subject.
All right, guys, let's
real quick before we change it, just to go back to John here. John, I want you to know that as far as the election and Trump and Biden, do I think that the election was stolen from Trump? Absolutely not. Okay, I still believe in the workings of democracy, and Trump legitimately lost. However, the people who decided that they wanted to go and storm the Capitol, those people were absolutely in the wrong. I don't think that was a disgraceful act of cowardice, a disgraceful act of thuggish
I'll be back
behavior,
real quick.
and but now here's the one thing that kind of bugs me about the big January 6th insurgency. It still got squashed in about 2 hours, and the only casualty was an unarmed woman. Yet for months and months and a whole summer, there were whole cities burning down in these gigantic riots, and nobody seems to want to really condemn those.
Well,
I
I
think
definitely
that-
condemn the riots. Yeah,
and I think that I think that this narrative that keeps coming from the right, that nobody cares about the other riots that are happening or the violence that happens on the left. I just don't get it. Where is that coming from? Who is telling you that? Who keeps telling you that nobody cares? I don't get it. We all care. The thing is that the reason it's happening is because
I'm talking about how it's reported, how the media,
different
reports
news
on it.
outlets
or
are
lack
gonna-
of reporting.
I mean, or the lack of reporting. I mean, during the Kenosha riots, there was a CNN reporter standing there with burning buildings behind him, saying, "Oh yeah, it's a little fiery, but it's mostly peaceful."
Well,
Well,
I can't speak to anecdotes, so I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't diminish an attempted coup that almost ended 200 and something years of democracy as a little thing, whereas the other thing that was happening, the other protests, are about deeply seated cultural issues that do apparently require a lot of vigorous debate still in order for things to change. So
I think we can both agree whether it's the right or the left, and I want to move on to the next topic.
okay.
But I think that we can both agree that there's a lot of times that movements attract rioters because they know they take advantage of opportunities. So whether it's the right or the left, you're going to have people that are dedicated to the cause, but because other people know that this is an opportunity to break in and get myself a TV or whatever, because they see this large group, they're going to take advantage of those situations.
And that also goes back to what Anthony was saying before, much earlier, and that, to my mind, that is a class issue, and is just speaks to the fact that we're all being squashed by the powers that be, and so yeah, I like the wholesale robbing of the majority of Americans by the upper classes is like that. That's like what the amount of money being lost from those riots or from looting is like minuscule compared to the amount of looting that's taking place from the wealthiest from all of us. So
Right. Except for when
where our anger should be.
Except for when you're a small store owner like me, and I have to go, board up my windows and put down gates
I'm not
and stuff.
saying it's not totally fucked. I'm not saying it's not totally fucked. I'm saying it's symptomatic of the fact that there is a larger issue. That the fact that all these little small people like us are fighting each other while these other people are just sitting on their yachts that's the fucked up shit.
Right.
Kind of reminds me of a cage fight, and we're the ones that are fighting.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's fucking Squid Game, man. It's fucking Squid Game. It really is.
Good analogy. I like that.
Wow.
Really, yeah, it really is.
All right. So now I think Betso was right. We're going to end with the lighter topic for tonight. I think we need a little bit of a breath of some fun here. We are moving on to scary or crazy travel stories. I feel like this is a segment that needs music. You got anything for us?
I could grab my guitar, but I don't have it plugged in.
Scary or crazy travel stories. Who wants
There
to
was
start this one off?
There was this one time in band camp.
Did it involve a flute?
No. It involved the neck of a guitar, a 36-inch neck of a bass guitar.
Oh, Jesus. Ouch.
I want to say what's up
Wasn't my
really
pu-
quick to
Wasn't my
distance
pussy
nerding.
either. No, I'm just kidding.
Distance nerding
Hey,
is in
before
the
we get into
podcast.
the next topic, what were the, we didn't really look, we got so involved with each other, we didn't really check in with the comments too much. What were the comments saying through most of it?
Oh, yeah. Well, we have writing is the voice of the voiceless. Dr. Martin Luther King. That was distance nerding. 5 dead on January 6th riots. Yeah, we need to do a better job about checking in on the bottom, just so our friends out here don't feel. Actually, Swisted had a lot to say about SCOTUS allowed protests outside of personal homes of abortion providers.
I actually used to do clinic defense, where we would. There was a group called Operation Rescue back in the '90s who would try and shut down abortion clinics in different. They would target different cities, and I was a part of a group that would, maintain a corridor to allow women to still utilize the services and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, they were allowed to do that. So
yeah, Kevin was referencing the night that we did have protest mob go past the store, but there was the night that people started looting the mall and they were using construction equipment to break into Best Buy, and that was when we went to our store and locked it because we're a mile from the mall, so we went to downtown and locked up our store and made sure everything was there. All right, let's get to these crazy travel stories. I want to hear because I know some people have some and stories. I have one kind of interesting thing that happened to me, but who's got something? Fours, you got to have something, man. We haven't heard you all night, dude.
I'm fixing to take 1 minute to let my dogs out. I'll be right back. And no, actually, I don't travel because I'm poor. So.
Well, this is true. Maybe it'll be something you saw on the Travel Channel. All right, David, you got anything?
Well, worst travel story I could come up with would be one time I took a train trip all the way around the country, and on my way back, I had an overnight in New Orleans. Let me just say, never walk off the lighted part of Bourbon Street for any reason. Ever.
I lived in New Orleans for 3 years, and I lived just south of the French Quarter. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Go on.
I made the mistake of going about 2 blocks away for a pack of cigarettes at about 2:30 in the morning, and on the way back, basically got jumped by 3 guys. And
oh shit.
Got the worst ass kicking I've ever endured in my entire life.
Oh crap!
I was able teeth through the lip and everything. And why do you think I have a beard?
Oh my god!
I was badly thrashed.
Wow,
that's the worst. I did kneecap
a friend of mine.
But,
a friend of mine who lived just south of the quarter. He had hurt his back, and he broke his back, and he was laid up for 2 years, couldn't leave his house.
Damn.
And then he left his house for the first time and got shot.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he didn't die, and then he moved. But he moved back to North Carolina. But yeah.
Wow.
So I have many travel stories. Because I hitchhiked around the country and rode freight trains for about a year when I was a teenager, and
awesome.
And then I also was in bands, and I used to tour all over the place in the States. And Yeah, I'll tell one quick. Actually, my phone is about to die, and as you can see, I'm in the woods, so I don't have a way to. So I'll tell real quick, and then I'm gonna have to get off the phone because my phone
All
is
right.
literally about to die. But one time when I was hitchhiking, I had I had winded up. I wound up in Gary, Indiana, late at night, near a truck stop, and I wasn't allowed into the truck stop area. So it was maybe 2 in the morning, and I just laid down on my backpack, which I had already had my backpack stolen once, so I didn't. I laid down on it, in front of a gas station,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember I woke up and I could barely breathe. Like it was so caustic, the fumes on my chest and my throat. And I got up, and it was like 5 in the morning, and I walked out to the what do you call it, the on ramp. And while I'm waiting on the on ramp, some other guy comes and gets in front of me, or I should say, like behind me, like where he's going to get picked up first.
Right.
And when you're a hitchhiker, that is totally not cool. You're supposed to wait for the other person, to get picked up, or you go ahead of them so they get picked up first. Anyway, sure enough, this guy gets picked up and he goes, and I'm waiting, and I finally get picked up, and it's two guys, an older gentleman and a younger guy in the and they're in the front seat, and I'm getting in the back, and oh, hey, how's it going, guys? And then this guy, the young guy, turns around and he's just staring at me like this,
Oh my God.
and I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? And he's just, and then we get to a toll booth, and the old guy is like, he's saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna drop off him here. You can get in the front seat." I was like, "Huh?" And so we pull over, and the guy gets out, and he's doing this to me, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" So then I get back in, and uh, we don't get very far. The guy's like, "Oh, Sam, you have to go," and blah blah blah. He's talking to me and stuff, and we're just chit chatting. And then we're coming up to another toll booth, and I see the guy who had gotten in front of me earlier. And I said, I was like, "Oh, hey, I saw that guy earlier this morning." And the guy sees him driving, and he goes, "Oh, okay. Well, hey, so anyway, I'm gay, and I would like to play, and
Wow.
I can, give you $50." And I was like, "Oh, that's okay. I don't really want to do that." And then he's like, "Well, okay, well, I'm going to pull over here." So then he pulls over.
Mm-hmm.
So now I understand why the guy is giving me that look. So
Right.
so I pull over. The guy was totally harmless, but I had already experienced another guy I knew from hitchhiking who had been raped while on the road.
Oof.
And had been held at gunpoint and all this stuff. So it's
Bored.
definitely, but this guy was like totally like, he was nothing like that at all. He just was horny. But
Right.
anyway, but he was out cruising for sure, looking. And so then when he saw this other guy, so then I got out and I walked up to the other guy as he was coming up, and I said, "Hey, just so you know, this guy, this is what this guy is doing." And I told him what he said, and the guy sped off.
Mm-hmm.
And then that guy, the other hitchhiker, said, "What the fuck? Like, why'd you make him leave? How much is he going to pay?" And he was like so
Wow.
angry at me because he was
lost
actually, exactly,
Right.
he was a hustler looking for that, and I had
Right.
inadvertently gotten in the way of their stuff.
You were cock
Anyway,
blocking.
yeah, and I'm still like could barely breathe from sleeping in front of the gas station, and then I finally get picked up, and it's this guy who's driving like a an oversized pickup truck that's like actually pulling like a giant trailer. So he's like a trucker, but he's like in some weird smaller truck. And I get in, and the first thing I notice is a $10 bill on the seat.
Oh,
And I
wow.
go, oh boy. And then, so to try and cut him off at the pass, I tell him the story of everything that just happened. And he
Right.
said, and so then he goes, well, I mean, we're all whores, really. I mean, we're all using our bodies and selling our bodies. And he's like, well, there's that $10 there, and that could be yours if you jack off. And so then, and once again, I'm not judging at all. I don't care, consenting adults.
I'm so glad
but,
I don't participate in this part of the gaydom. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, then I started.
having flashbacks.
I started talking about how I didn't have a girlfriend. I just started saying, yeah, but my girlfriend would like it, and Jesus says that's wrong, and I know whatever Jesus says I'm not supposed to do. And of course, I'm not a Christian at all, but I brought Jesus right into it, and I was still so exhausted from only having slept for 3 hours on a sidewalk in front of a gas station that I was like, please just take me somewhere so I can get home. I had been on the road for like 6 weeks, and I was like coming from the West Coast trying to get to New Jersey, and I was in Ohio when this was happening. And I was just like, please just let me get home. So, I don't know. That was the first one that was the first weird or crazy or whatever travel story that I could think of. But I mean, I have like a zillion of them that go all over the place. But,
well, we'll circle back around
and in my head.
Pick up another. Anyone? That was. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm down to 10%, and I still have to walk home. So I actually have to get off now.
Oh.
I'm so sorry. I won't get to hear everybody else's stories.
Well, you can tune in and watch the show later.
I wish I feel bad. I had better ones, I'm sure.
Well, that was definitely a memorable one to leave us with.
Oh yeah. And it's it's so funny too. If you look at my background, it totally looks like I'm in some like rest stop cruising area too. So guys, I gotta get off now. I got a little hot and bothered from that story. Okay.
And how will you be getting off? All right, man. Wait, we appreciate having you on anytime we can get you, John.
Okay, I'll see y'all. Be good.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Can't promise anything.
I like this comment that's Twisted had. The guy gave you a ride. You couldn't even let him lick your lollipop. Kind of ungrateful.
Oh, goodness gracious. Why did I not try to backpack across the goddamn country? I mean, might have paid some money too. Shit, I don't know.
Anybody got any twisted stories or?
I got another twisted story. It's not a travel story. It's a drunken sailor story, though, if you want to hear it.
Well, I mean, it's traveling, right? You're a sailor.
Okay, so I was in Waukegan, Illinois. That's where the base was that I was on, and we'd go out partying quite often. There was this one time we went to a bar called, one thing was called Buffalo Bills. This was quite a while ago, and there would be taxis lined up at closing time to take people back to the base. Me and my buddy that I was drinking with missed the last taxi, so we thought, you know what? We're just going to walk back to base. It's only about 5 miles.
Only 5.
Only 5. So we started walking, and we were walking, and we were walking, well, stumbling more like. We eventually got so burnt out from walking. We're like, we both came up with the idea of why don't we just try and crash out, get an hour or two of sleep. We didn't technically have to be back on base until Monday, and it was Saturday night. So we crash out. I wake up
On the side of the road or
and
something?
well, kind of off the side of the road. Of course, Illinois is also known as like the land of 1,000 lakes.
Mhm.
Well, I woke up with my foot in one, laying in the gravel. I'm looking around for my friend. I can't see him anywhere. There's a dude about 100 yards away from me fishing.
Oh shit.
So I get up and I start walking, figuring, okay, well maybe he started going already. I'm gonna see if I can catch up with him. I start heading in the direction that I thought we were heading the night before. I probably got 2 or 3 miles, and at that point I did start trying to hitchhike.
Mhm.
The only car I saw was a state trooper drive by me, and on his loudspeaker says, "Hitchhiking's illegal in Illinois." All right, so I'm not gonna continue doing that, right? I finally come out of like this grove of trees. I mean, on the highway, right? Come out of this area where there's a bunch of trees, and it's starting to look really, really flat and really, really grassy. And I'm going, this doesn't look like I'm walking towards Lake Michigan here.
Right.
But I didn't know what else to do. It's either that or just start heading back the other direction. So I continue going. I start seeing this overpass in front of me. So as I'm going over the overpass, off to the side, down below the overpass, I see my buddy sprawled out on the ground. And I'm thinking, oh shit, I hope he didn't like fall off of this thing, and I'm gonna have to try and, pull his dead body up, and that's gonna look really good on a film. So I go down to him, and first thing I notice is that he's still breathing. Real good sign.
That's a good start.
So I shake him. He groans a couple of times and then kind of bats his eyes, does one of these, and he's all, "Oh hey." I'm like, dude, we better get off of this highway right now before somebody calls in that there's a dead body on the side of the road. So he sits up and kind of trying to shake it off. I can't remember if he like threw up or something too, but he was still really drunk. I was really hungover, but he was still really drunk. And just as we stand up, getting ready to walk back up to the overpass and continue on our overdone hike, that same trooper that had yelled at me over the phone, over the loudspeaker, pulls up next to us, and we're like, "Okay, great, this is going to be fun." So he goes, "Are you boys all right?" We're like, "Yeah, we're just trying to shake off last night." And he's like, "Yeah, I got a call for there being a dead body on the side of the road." We're like, "Well, we're not dead. We're just trying to walk back to base." He gives us this really quizzical look. He's like, "Really? What base are you trying to walk back to?"
Uh-oh.
Like, we're trying to walk back to NAB, Waukegan. And he's like, "You realize you went about 12 miles in the wrong direction?" We're like, well, kind of guessed at this point that, yeah, we probably were going the wrong way, but figured we'd come to a town or something, or get a ride. But hey, you told me that we couldn't. You told me earlier we couldn't hitchhike. He's like, well, I'll make an exception this time. Why don't you guys hop in the car? I'll drive you back. So he drives us back. We start getting into town there, and me and my partner, we're going like, do we really want to go back and try and walk through the quarter deck of our barracks in this state? Why don't we get something to eat first? And we're like, yeah, can you drop us off at that Denny's over there? He's like, yeah, no problem. So he drops us off. We have ourselves a breakfast. At that point, we're feeling a little better. We go back to the base. We get to our where we're housed, and getting ready to just crash out in our bunks. I mean, we were toasted at that point, right? Just done for the day, done for the night, the whole weekend. sleep
Mhm.
off Sunday, right? And somebody comes running in. Hey man, they got a keg down at Lake Michigan, which was the base was literally on Lake Michigan. We just looked at each other. We're like, "Fuck it, might as well."
Wow.
Went on down to the beach and drank it back up.
Damn.
I'll tell you that Monday when we reported for muster, oh god, that was one of the worst, longest days. Yeah. Okay, my story's done.
Nice.
All
Anybody
right,
else?
Forrest, come on,
Okay.
or
Well,
Aaron,
Forrest can go
or
first
Anthony.
if you
Sorry,
want. Oh, it's me. I don't know. Ah.
I'm just
Flip a
swapping
coin.
everybody.
Roulette.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm gonna flip a coin. Oh, I don't have a coin. Oh, yeah, I do have a coin.
All right, wait, Forrest, do you got anything?
Go for it.
We
No.
haven't heard from you much at all.
I don't
Forrest wins the
travel.
coin toss.
He doesn't
I-
have a travel story.
Okay.
I don't
All
travel.
right, we're gonna start with Anthony. I'm gonna plug in and use the restroom real quick. I'm gonna be right back. So go ahead.
So the question is, do you want to hear about the one from Seattle, the one from Hawaii, or the one from Mexico?
Seattle.
So Seattle. I went to Seattle with my mother for her, I think it was like her 45th birthday, something like that. Like definitely a long time ago. Yeah, because she went to Italy for her 50th. Anywho, so I'd never been to Seattle before. I was still closeted with my mother. So she didn't know I was like actively gay. And we went out there, and it's crazy because Seattle for me is like San Francisco, but with more trees. There's a lot of fog. The city is very hilly. There's a it just felt like San Francisco. Anywho, so we spent this whole trip out there for her birthday, and we had gone to some random bar for drinks. I had to have been at least like 22, I think. I forget. Anywho, so she was asking the guy at the bar, like, hey, where's like a good club district that we can go to? And he's like, oh, yeah, you should go down this area, like check out this part on the hill. Da, 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 da. I was like, all right, cool. So later that night, we end up going down to that area, and we go to this bar that's got like some random ass dive band going on. And it's like, all right, this isn't our scene. Let's go to the next one. And when we get to this next one, as soon as we get there, I'm just kind of like, this seems like a lesbian joint. Like, she's not paying attention to what's going on. I'm trying to get her attention. I see my queer people there. And like, she paid for a cover to get in. We get the stamp and we walk in, and like, I immediately kind of go like, Mom, you realize where we are, right? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, this is a lesbian joint. And she's like, oh shit, I thought those were a bunch of men. Like, it was a bunch of short hair and flannel, but like, she didn't register that these were women. And so like, we kind of hung out for a little bit. She got awkward about it. We left. She decides like, you know what? I'm really just kind of tired. You know, I'm going to go back to the hotel, but if you want to go back out to the bars, like go to this other place on the wharf. Da, 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 da. Well, I end up, I guess, leaving my jacket with her, which had my phone in it. I immediately got back in the taxi and said, yeah, take me back to the place that we just came from. And so like, me as the closeted gay, like got back into the bar because I have the stamp, and immediately it said, hi, so where's like the nearest gay joint here? Cause like, and so like this one lesbian tells me like, oh, you should go down the street. There's this alley over here. There's a club over there. Go check them out. So I do. I proceed to get like ridiculously drunk. I'm making out with some boy on the dance floor. He somehow persuades me to go back home with him. And I don't think I realized it at the time until we got to his place. But I think like hardcore, I got roofied, because I remembered a friend of mine telling me about how she got roofied at one point, and she ended up like throwing up a lot of red. And I threw up a lot of red at his apartment.
Oh, wow.
And I remember like us doing stuff and then me passing out. And then I remember waking up with him doing stuff to me, which I was not really a participant in, but I was just like, okay, whatever, I'm here. And then I remember waking up in this man's apartment and then realizing his fucking mattress is on the floor, which is already like a big, like, oh God, what am I doing here? And then, like, I also did not remember his name, and I had to like pick up a debit card and be like, okay, so John, this was fun. I gotta go. And of course, now it's like the middle of the butt crack of dawn. I don't have my phone. I don't know where I am. I've basically just been kind of like date raped, and my mother has no idea where the fuck I am. And so like I realized after I get like into the elevator, like I thought that this was on a different floor. I get out of this apartment building. I have no idea where the fuck I am. I don't even think I had my wallet because I paid for my drinks. So I had money, but I could not find a taxi. It was too early. It was like 8 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever. And I had to like look for the Space Needle to kind of get my bearings and start to walk in the right direction.
Right.
So like legit walked about like 3 miles. I don't even think I found a taxi. I think I just found my bearings and got to a street where I ended up walking to my hotel. And I got to the room to find my mother like blow drying her hair and kind of did the hey, and like she just instantaneously burst into tears. Like she thought I had been abducted and murdered that night.
Wow.
Because I did not have my phone. I did not have my jacket. I did not come back. And like there were sirens outside down on the street somewhere. Like she's somebody who watches IDTV religiously and legitimately had contemplated calling her ex-husband to come to Seattle to try to find me because she was so fucking terrified of where the fuck was I.
Wow.
And mind you, again, it's like, ha ha ha, you have no idea. I went to a gay club after this and like kind of slept with the dude. So I like lied and said I went to some girl's place.
Wow, that could have been a lot more. That story could have a whole different ending.
No, it could have. It could have. But to be fair, like again, this is my mother's birthday trip, so like it's her birthday, and we had reservations for the restaurant on the Space Needle, which is a moving, rotating restaurant.
Wow.
And now, of course, I'm like deathly hungover because I've like got real drunk and possibly roofied. So I'm like green to the gills already. And we had to sit in this restaurant, and I think I took a bite of my pancakes, holding back the urge to vomit. And at the same time thought, I have never deserved a hangover like this before in my life because my mother literally thought I was dead in the street and has been freaking out for the last 8 hours. So that's my crazy travel story of something I should never have ever done. Will never ever know unless she watches this podcast. Sorry, Mom. I kind of got raped by a guy named John. He was semi-cute and had a mattress on his fucking floor.
Well, there's a story for you. Okay, I have a story. It's not like funny or like crazy or. I will say though, it's the only time in my life that I had truly wondered if there were guardian angels, if there was something looking out for me, because there's no way I should have gotten out of the situation that I was in. So when I was a younger man, I worked as a merchant marine, and I was on a ship that was in Italy. And when we got, and my job was, I was one of the lower deckhands. So my job was when we got to the port filled with oil, I would have to go and measure the tanks, and then I have to have a representative from the Italian company also verify so that we both get the same numbers, and we have to go check all the tanks together. So it takes about an hour to do this whole process. And what was that?
I'm sorry. I'm having a deja vu moment right now. Did you tell us this before?
I don't think so.
Continue. I'll figure it out.
So as I'm going through and doing this job, I'm talking to the Italian guy, that's doing, his job. And, we just get to talking and he says, well, hey, I got to go up to the office, drop off the numbers, fill out some paperwork. But he's like, if you're done when you're off, I'll drive you into town. Because I had been talking about, never been here. I'd love to go walk around and see the architecture, blah, blah, blah. So, I run up to my room, I take a shower, I go down to the office where I know he's going to be at, and, we finish up and he takes me into town. Well, not only does he take me into town, like, he takes me driving around for like a whole hour, showing me, so, pieces of architecture that were thousands of years old, mixed right in the middle of a modern city. And, he's obviously very proud of his city. So he's showing me all this stuff. But what happens is with us going through the city, I have no idea where I am or to get bearings back to the dock that I'm at. And I don't speak Italian. So he finally drops me off in the middle of town. I was like, I want to get, some postcards and souvenirs for family and stuff like that. So I start walking around and I find a little, like a newspaper place, and I buy a whole bunch of stamps and souvenirs. And ended up spending all my money. I had probably about the equivalent of $2 or $3 of Italian money left. And I'm in the middle of the city, and I was like, well, shit, dude, like, I gotta find an ATM. I just gotta get to an ATM. Once I get to an ATM, I can get some Italian money, and then I can just take a taxi and just tell them the name of the port, and I'm good to go. One thing I forgot to say. When the guy dropped me off in the middle of town, wished me a good time or whatever, I asked him if he could write down the name of the port that we were at on a piece of paper for me so that when I got done, I could just hop into a cab and give the cabbie the little piece of paper and he would drive me to the port where my ship is at. So I've got this little piece of paper. I go and hit an ATM, and apparently my cards aren't working because they're international. So now I have like no cash. It's like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm in the middle of this city that's like absolutely deserted. Not a single person on the street, right? All the other stores except for this little newsstand is closed down already. So I'm like, oh fuck, dude, what am I going to do? On top of that, my position on the ship was so low that I was the only person on the ship they were legally allowed to take off with. And I was very much told that if you were not on this ship at 6 a.m., we are leaving without your ass. That's just what's happening, right? So it's like 11 o'clock at night. I've got no money. I have no idea where I am, and I have no idea, like, how I'm going to get back to my ship. And then all of a sudden, I see this man, like, walking up to the only person on the fucking entire street. And he's walking up the street, and he's dressed in all black. And he's carrying a bag in each hand. And, I go up to him and I was like, excuse me, and he obviously doesn't speak English. I was like, American, I'm trying to get, I show him the piece of paper, I'm trying to get here. And he's like, oh, engineer? And I was like, no, but I know what we knew, we're speaking the same language now, but I'm not an engineer. Anyways, turns out this guy is on the ship as we were coming. I totally didn't tell this part. As we were boarding the ship that day, I looked over at the ship next to us, just looking at it. And for some reason, it stuck in my mind that the name of that ship was called the Sylvia. This guy was on the ship, the Sylvia, and was heading back to the ship. So he was like, oh, me Sylvia. And I was like, oh my God, I recognize that. I know that. So I was like, dude, I'm just following you. Wherever you go for the next 6 hours, I'm following you. So this guy ended up paying for me. We got on the bus. He ended up paying my bus fare or whatever, and I got back to the ship. I made it back within 3 hours of the ship leaving, so it was good to go. But that was one of those few situations in my life where I wondered if, like, maybe there was a guardian angel. Because it was just one guy on the street, and he happened to be on the ship next to the ship I was boarded next to in a random country.
That's pretty awesome, actually. That is a moment of like kismet, small world. Holy shit! How the fuck did that happen? Kind of thing.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, my friends. Well, we are coming up to the end of our show. We're about a minute away right now.
I know.
I, as always, have had a wonderful time. I want to let people know that we have a big announcement coming this Sunday. If you tune into Kyber K presents Saber Rattle at 7 p.m., we've got a really big guest. Johnny Collado of Dark Wolf Sabers will be on our show. I definitely know Fours knows who that is. And then we have a really big announcement about KCP in general that we will be letting people know about. So, we're going to do as we traditionally do and go around the circle and give our little closeout here. So let's start with the man who's been speaking so much tonight.
All right, you guys, if you are a member of the lightsaber community or if you just happen to own one of these things, I make sounds for them. So you can go to forzfx.com. You can find my stuff there. You could also find me at saberfont.com under forzfx. Also be sure to visit kybercave.com so that you can get your hands on one of these bad boys. And I think we're just a few subscribers away from another giveaway. I'm not sure, but we're getting there.
You know what's scary, right? You know how many subscribers we have right now? We are sitting on
probably somewhere in the realm of 666.
666. We're at 666, but we're going this weekend. Kyber Cave is going to be at the Candy Palooza Festival here in Fairfield. It's at the Jelly Belly Factory from 9 to 5 on both Saturday and Sunday. And yeah, in fact, like 4 or 5 years ago, they had two of the actors from the original Willy Wonka. They were actually there as the king and queen of the candy parade. So we're going to be there this weekend, and we can sell you one of those beautiful bad boys there. All right, Mr. David.
Well, I make sounds too, but they're usually the sarcastic and inappropriate type.
They come from my butt.
No, not from my butt, but those are different. No, yeah, my name's David. I come on here. I'm the very public nobody. Pet conservative, as I used to be called, but I like that.
We love you.
Sword master and fighter for Kyber Cave, and May will be having another announcement coming soon if certain things in production work out all right.
Woohoo! Yeah, when we do that event at the Merced Film Festival, I was actually going to invite Anthony out to that too because it might be fun for us to do autograph signings and stuff like that. Start getting out there publicly.
There's a thing you want.
There's a film festival coming up in November. David and Aubrey are going to be fighting. They're going to be performing at that film festival. But Mezzo, was that?
What day in November?
We'll have to talk about that later. I don't remember offhand.
November 12th.
Oh, well, thank you very much. This is why I never carry the brains. But yeah, we're trying to have Mezzo, so it'd be fun to have you out there too. At any rate, that's a whole nother thing. And I would like to get that videotape so that we could show everybody that presentation you guys are putting together. All right. The man himself.
The queen himself. All right. Fun enough. The fact that you mentioned the Jelly Belly Factory just like triggered a whole childhood memory in myself. My stepfather used to do packaging, machine maintenance stuffs. And the Jelly Belly Factory is one of the places that he took me on his many travels that I got to see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff with. So
wow.
Oh my God, nostalgia. Outside of that, again, you can always catch me Wednesday nights here in Lodi at my drag show, The Sleigh House. We've been having quite the continuous regular following now.
Woohoo!
On average, sell out most of our seats, which is great. There's no cover, but even the fact that I have people in the building is great. So I'm proud of that. We have a 7 Deadly Sins theme coming up this week.
Wow.
I'm glad I was able to make it on tonight because, again, I had a double. I was doing a morning shift and then a catering shift. And when they're like, oh, we're letting half of you go at 8, I was like, that can be me because I want to go. I'm tired. I'm always appreciative to be on here, and I'm always curious to see how people react to me just ranting and rambling and subject 15 times. My apologies on that earlier, Fours. Outside of that, it's always fun with you guys. I'm happy.
I'm telling you, I still think we need to get you your own talk show, dude.
Well, that would be fun. Again, I'm a very Bill Maher kind of queer person. Let me be controversial and stupid about shit, and let people laugh at me otherwise. Outside of that, be safe. Don't hitchhike. Clearly, John's a testament to that. Don't go missing without your phone in a foreign city with your mother. That's my story. Also, like, don't get date raped because that's something. Outside of that, I'm curious to see what our topics are for next.
We just bounce all over the place.
Yeah. Outside of that, I have a wedding this weekend for my brother-in-law. Eli's brother's getting married. That's why I had to disappear for a minute. His entire family walked in the door with him. I was like, I gotta go. And then outside of that, I'm here. I'm queer. We're all used to it. It's fine. I might dress up next week. We'll see if I'm available. I don't know. Work's been fucking terrible lately.
Well, I guess we'll know next Friday.
Yes, I'll let you know as soon as my schedule comes out.
Wonderful. All right. As for myself, my name is Arctic Scholar with the Kyber Cave. We are here every Friday night at 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. with Kyber Cave Presents After Dark. This is our 18 and over show. On Sunday nights at 7, we do our family show, Saber Rattle, and we have big guests, big announcement this Sunday. Please tune in. I'm very excited about this. We are going to be going through some changes on this channel, and I want you all to be a part of that. So tune in Sunday night and you will find out. Otherwise, you can find us at the Jelly Belly Factory this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I got to get up in we're going to be on we're going to have our booth going in about 12 hours from now. So 11 hours from now. So we will be at Jelly Belly all this weekend. Please come out and hang out with us and say hi. All right. I love you guys very, very much. Let me find our little outro here. Oh, and here we go. Peace, y'all.